Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. This is Coach Powell. Welcome again to Coffee, Tea, You and Me. Every week, I try to come together with entrepreneurs and business leaders to help them start to understand things that they can do to improve their business, to make sure that it's successful, and do the things they need to do to grow. It's all about growth. It's all about movement. It's all about keeping moving forward. And so if you've been paying attention over the last few weeks, we've been over the series. This has actually been probably 2 months now. We've been in a series that's really all about getting yourself ready to create the plan that you need to create for your future, either in 2023 or 2024 or beyond. You need to have some basic things in place to make sure that plan is functional. You need to have an assessment and a good direction and alignment with your vision, your mission, your goals, your task orientation or your habits, and your people. You need to make sure all of those things are working really, really well, so that your plan, when you create it, is including all of those amazing tools and amazing concepts that you have to have in place. We have such an exciting show for you today because we're carrying on the theme that we've been doing for the last few weeks, and it's been about your habits or your task orientation. How are you going to go about the daily, weekly, monthly business of doing the things that you need to do? We started out talking to my good friend Kevin Williams, who shared with us, 7 valuable lessons about, how to create better habits. And we talked last week with my good friend Adam Pressman, who was talking about, the basic core skills that you have to have in order to change, in order to move your habits. And today I'm just going to give you sort of a recap really quickly on what you need to do to really talk about your habits, learn from your habits. And we're going to talk about some of the new modern techniques that we've learned from the neuroscience. And so we're going to talk a lot about mindfulness. We're going to talk about a lot about awareness of what you're doing. We're going to talk about everything that causes you to create more awareness for yourself and the things that distract you from causing awareness. All those things are coming up in the show right after a little quick brief message. And then we're going to get the party started right away so we can get you guys out of here at a decent time and you can continue to play. Now, if you've seen this show before, right, you know the rules. Click on yes. Make sure that you share us with everybody you possibly can share us. This is being broadcast on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn all simultaneously. So feel free to make a comment in the chat. Feel free, if you have a business, I want you to promote your business. I want you to tell us what your business is, where it's coming from, what your websites are, all that information. Put that information in the chat. Try not to put it in several different segments of the chat. Just kind of get it all together in one segment of the chat and pop that information in so that we can give you a shout out on screen if we need to give you a shout out on the screen. But everybody can see you who watches this show, whether they watch it now or they watch it replay. And we're probably going to replay this show several times. So you want to make sure that you get your brand out there as much as possible. Also, if you have any questions about habit formation, any questions about coaching, how do you get your business going, moving in the right direction, my number's scrolling across the screen, but also put that information in the chat. Put the questions that you have in the chat because I may have answers for you, but then again, anybody who's listening may have answers for you. And this is a community. We want to make sure at the Coach Powell family, we create opportunities for us to create synergy and unity and work together as much as we possibly can. A lot of entrepreneurs see each other as competition, and that's just not the way to go. It's not the way to grow. We can do so much more together than we can ever do by ourselves. And so let's bond together and let's create a moment, an opportunity for us to share. And I'll tell you a great story about that a little later on if we get into the show. Okay, looks like we already got some comments out there. David is already on the show. Good to see you, David. Definitely put your information in the chat, David. I'm going to see it, pick it up on LinkedIn. David's one of just our premier web developer, and he's doing such a wonderful job of working with entrepreneurs and business leaders and helping them pull together their website, make it right. I know some of you all think you got a website out there that's working right now, but I promise you, you don't. If you haven't looked at it recently and had it updated, you want to get David to look at it. David, put your business information in the chat so people can see you. Thank you very much. He's joining us from LinkedIn. That's great to see you out there. Okay, we're going to move this party on. I want to make sure as we can go to a quick little break and then we'll come right back. So I told you guys that today's show is going to be all about habits. And if you're watching us from LinkedIn and you're watching us from Facebook, you're watching us from YouTube, I don't care where you're looking from. If you got a habit that you need to break, sometimes all you got to do is confess that habit. You might want to tell some people, you know, you want to put it in the chat, you know, I need to do this better. Whatever the thing is that you need to do better. And you might find that there's somebody out there already who also has conquered that particular situation. And they might be able to tell you how they did it better. So don't be afraid to put it out there, because, you know, this is a community and we can work so much better together, like I said earlier, than we can apart. And when we're going to get into the recap, before we get into some of the neuroscience behind this, I want to tell you some of the things that we've already shared and some of the things that are available in our training guide that we're creating about habit change. And first of all, understanding what a habit is. A habit, by definition, is really a regular tendency or practice that's hard to give up. Usually, these habits are hardwired into our system. They're hardwired into our brain, which is our mainframe for all of our heart, for all of the actual actions that we take. And most of the things that we do, we are doing unconsciously. So the habits that we've built, the habits that have gotten us to where we are right now, are not necessarily the habits that we're going to want to have to move us forward in the future. And we have to know how to do that. We have to know how to make those changes, because these habits we now are ingrained in us. They're a part of our bodily condition, our constitution, if you will. Now, habits are different from a task orientation. Your task orientation is literally the mental framework, the motivational focus that you have to make a change in your habit, right? It shows that you have full command of your facilities, full command of your mind, and you're able to become a master at a particular task by thinking about it, making the changes that you have to make in your behavior that will help you think about it more, which will help you behave better, more efficiently, more effectively, will help you think about it more, and it'll help you get into the right kinds of habit loops that reward you for the positive behavior instead of being rewarded for the formerly negative behavior. So one of the things I always encourage my clients, my friends, anybody who's ever thinking about changing their task orientation so that they can move into a better situation or create a better situation. One of the things I always tell people is this is bar none. If you're doing this just because you want to make the change, that is not going to produce enough energy for you to sustain the change. You know, the old habit, the old saying is you can break a habit in 21 days. Sometimes it takes 30, 40, 50 days to break a habit. Sometimes recidivist behavior jumps back on you. You got to sort of reset the system all over again. And so you have to be really careful when you say you want to change a habit, because you have to first understand what habits are already driving you. And this is where this thing called mindfulness comes in. Now, many practitioners of mindfulness or meditation or anything that reminds you, helps you plug into who you are in the universe and how the universe expands and contracts through you sometimes, and how you contribute not just your thoughts but your behavior to the forward flow of human history in certain ways. And that thing is in us, right? So, you know, it's about your spiritual development. It's about you understanding that you're not here alone. We exist as a part of an ongoing continuum of the human experience, the human family. And I don't believe that we were existed by accident. I do think that, you know, there is a creator, there is some force that has started this whole process going, because it's just too simplistic not to be of one thought, of one mind, of one approach. And so therefore there's a destiny for all of us. And I kind of think, for me and my coaching practice and what I try to help others understand, is that there's something special in all of us that we need to figure out how to turn the volume up on that thing and really, really make it fly, no matter what that thing is. I don't know if it's music. I don't know if it's technology. I don't know if it's art. I don't know what it is for you. It could be science, could be math. It could be anything. It could be your smile. It could be your ability to attract others. It could be, you know, your ability to speak or produce or create. Everybody has something special. The whole thing you have to figure out, though, is how do you take what you have, the unique combination of characteristics that make you you, and how do you use that for the benefit of others? That is how you begin to have a reason to make a habit change. If you have a reason to make a habit change, and it's appropriate for the mission that you have in your life, the sense of purpose that you have, and it's appropriate for the connections that you have in your life, the people that you need to surround yourself with, the people that you are surrounding yourself with. If it's appropriate for the vision that you have and the sense of goals that you may have and that you may have to put in front of you, now you got yourself a good habit. But you can tell if that habit doesn't, whatever habit you have and you're consciously aware of it, if it doesn't forward your mission, if it doesn't forward your connections or help you get brand new connections that you're going to need to support you in your vision, if it doesn't help you to literally achieve and set a pattern of achievement towards your goals, it might not be a good habit. Simply put, you have got to get control of yourself for a reason that's bigger than yourself. If you don't feel a call, a destiny pull, if you don't feel that this is your purpose, or this is something that you were born to do, after peaceful contemplation, after thorough thought and meditation, after being able to really, really sit down with yourself, get control of yourself and ask yourself the question, why am I doing the things that I'm doing, and what should I be doing and why? If you don't get that, those thought processes really clear in your mind, and it's really going to be hard for you to move forward on a consistent basis. And this is what's required to break your habits. You cannot move forward and break a habit by just thinking about it. You have to put action to your thoughts, and you have to measure those actions, and you have to put goals to those thoughts. And all those things have to be tied in and aligned again to your vision, your mission, your goals, your connections. Once that thing is done well and you have proper alignment, that's a habit worth changing. That's a habit worth creating or embracing. No matter how you think about it or slice it, it really boils down to those thoughts and making sure that you are clear-headed and you are in control of your thoughts and your actions. Now, you know the old saying, if we know better, you do better. I'm going to tell you, modern neuroscience has proven that is a myth. So many of us know what to do. So many of us know how to be. We know what to experience and how to experience the life that we're trying to have. But the reality is we don't do what we know we should do all the time. That's a serious challenge, because knowing what you should do all the time, let me just break this down for you so you understand. You exist on at least 4 different planes. You exist on the physical plane. And so knowing what to do with your body and yourself on a regular, consistent basis, that's a challenge. But you also exist on a spiritual plane. Knowing what to do and how to exist and how to be spiritually, that's a challenge. Then you also exist on a mental plane, right? So knowing what to think and how to control those thoughts and so on and so forth, and figure out what to do with them, that's another thing. And then you have that emotional plane, your feelings, right? That the things that trigger you to do different things and think about different things, really your feelings, your emotions. You got to learn how to handle those things. Mindfulness practice just teaches you that your emotions are just your thoughts. They come and they go. All you have really is this moment. You might be feeling this way in this moment right now. You may be feeling a certain way. It could be bad, could be good, but it is temporary. A new feeling is going to come along. And sometimes you can drive a new feeling by acting a certain way, right? So sometimes, there's a book, it's right here on my shelf right here. Like, I love it right here. This is one of my favorite books. When my daughter started taking up theater and really started to understand theater, and I asked her in one of her courses, what she's reading. And she talked to me about this book that was written by this guy named Konstantin Stanislavski. And Stanislavski is very clear about the difference between acting a role, playing a role, and performing a role. And really, when you start to break down what those things mean, as he started to describe it, when you're really, really playing a role well, you become the role. You understand the backstory to the role. You understand what the role's potential future is, and you understand what the role means in the now. in terms of how you express your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions on the stage or in front of camera, however you do it. And literally Stanislavski invented the way all actors all over the world right now, perform. They begin to think about his method. And so I realized that sometimes every time an actor embraces a role, they become that role. So a part of the identification that they bring to the role changes their identification, how they see themselves. And that's why a lot of them have to have, a lot of therapy, in between roles so that they can come out of that old role, re-embrace who they are, and then go into the new role. If they don't do that well, then it may show up in the art. It may show up in how they express themselves, and it may their original self kind of might peek out in the role that they're playing. If you notice some actors, they seem to be the same everywhere. Every time you see them, and no matter what the role is, they seem to be the same person, because they really haven't embraced the role. They're just being themselves in the role. And there's a difference, between, truly embracing the role that you're trying to become. And it's the same thing for you. When you're trying to change your habits, you're picking up a new role, right? You have to have a reason to pick up that new role. You have to have a backstory for that role. Why are you doing this in the first place? What changes have happened in your life that's causing the necessity for you to make this change? And how do you build the neurons, right? You need to build, your brain is literally a function of not just what you think about, but what you do. And so as you begin to put together the right habits, you're teaching your brain that this is a better way to be. This is a better way to do things. This is a better way to come. And it's going to remember how to do that. It's going to get better at it because it's going to build the neurons that it needs to build in order for you to turn that habit into autopilot, into muscle memory, into the things that you need to do to progress and move forward. And so we talk about habits, and we talk about task orientation a lot with our clients because it's so super important. Almost anytime you think that you want a new reality, you have to change your behavior. There's no way for you to keep doing the same things you've been doing and experience something new at the same time, or have a new experience at the same time. The world could change around you, but you're just going to keep plugging around, doing the things that you used to do the same old way you used to do them, because that's what's comfortable for you. And that's what's comfortable for your brain. Your brain actually rewards you for doing the same things you've been doing, right? It lets you know, I'm all right. I'm okay. I'm doing this and I'm okay. Think about it. We human beings can get used to almost any condition. We can almost learn to love almost any situation, right? Look at prisoners of war. Look at people who have been in concentration camps, and some of them have been able to eke out a life that they thought was okay. Even slaves had a hard time sometimes leaving the plantation, and that's because they have gotten so used to the conditions that the conditions don't even bother them anymore. It just is what it is. And it's the status quo. And it's hard to always break the status quo. Whatever you're used to doing, whatever human beings are used to doing, they want to continue to do them. They still want to follow the same old rules. Story after story, when the scientists knew that the earth was round, you know how hard it was for them to convince the religious community or other communities that, it's not flat. We were, and by the fact that not only is the world not flat, it's actually spinning, right? It was difficult. It took hundreds of years to break through old traditional values and old traditional processes for the new norms to take hold. In some places, they're still not there. And they're still worried about, the stuff that they used to worry about as if the earth was flat, like we're going to sail off it or fall to the edge or go into purgatory. Some people still believe that today. So think about that. Think about the fact that, it's hard for us to change our minds about something. Once we've decided and started put it into lore and write it down in books and share it back and forth with one another, it becomes difficult, becomes the way things are. I grew up in and out of Washington metropolitan area. I remember it was a game that my friends and I would often play with each other. We would taunt and tease one another and talk about each other terribly. And this was for fun, right? This was just jokes, right? This was just us teasing each other and having what they call playful banter back and forth. But in reality, some of the things we were saying it was harsh. It was harsh. And I realized that there's probably some damage that we caused each other as young boys and young teens. We probably damaged each other in ways that emotionally that it may be difficult for some of us to recover from even to this day. But we're unconscious of it because we have taught ourselves things like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, right? What do they call it? Sugar plum. That's what girls are made of sugar plum fairies and something other stuff. We used to say that kind of stuff. And boys are made of sticks, and boys are made of rocks and bones and all kinds of crazy stuff. And that's what boys are made of. We used to say these kinds of things to strengthen our claim to a behavior that made sense to us, but it didn't really make sense. There was no need for us to taunt and tease and bully each other, because now the stuff that we would do even at my young age is now considered bullying, which could get you suspended from school and get you in trouble. And in my day, they would just say kids will be kids. Nobody, no blood, no foul, right? It doesn't matter that it's a concussion, but we would do all kinds of things to one another. So the point I'm trying to make is, as humans evolve, we don't necessarily evolve emotionally and mentally in ways that are going to help us create habits that we need to create. We've got to do the hard work to do that. And it does take hard work to change habits. That's why I'm telling you, you got to have a couple things. One of the things you got to have, obviously, is a thought of a higher purpose outside of yourself. Maybe it's a family, maybe it's a business, maybe it's something that is out there that's going to help you grow into new habits. But the other thing you have to have is that alignment I talked about between your goals, your vision, your mission, and the contacts, or I would say the connections that you have with other people. Your habits have to be in alignment with those things, because when those habits are not aligned, when they're out of alignment, you're going to find that you're working, and you're working hard, but you're not moving forward, at least not in a way that you're of your own design. You might be moving forward in a way of somebody else's design, but you're not moving forward in the way of your own design. And I often tell people, it's your life. You have an opportunity now to grab it and embrace it and do the things you want to do. And millions of people are doing that, right? If you look at what's going on in the job market right now, people are leaving jobs left and right, moving to places where the economy is more friendly to a lower salary, because they realize that money does not drive happiness. Success and accolades does not drive happiness. What drives happiness is your ability to connect with others, to be loved, to be cherished, to be kind. Those are the things that drive happiness. Success comes after happiness. If you find that your success comes without happiness, you find you won't keep the success. But if you're happy and then you become successful, you find that you can stay successful. That's how happiness works. One drives the other. Happiness drives success, not success driving happiness. And we've gotten that twisted a lot in, I would say mostly in the Western world, because we bought into the fact that if we work hard, if we get good grades, if we dream big enough, if we, get all the nice material trappings and so on and so forth, we'll be happy. If we build the right relationships and we get the right family, we'll be happy. We won't. None of that stuff makes us happy unless you're happy already. Now, and I'm not just preaching to you guys. I want you to know the neuroscience has already proved this. If you're already happy, if you're already content, you're already satisfied with who you are, where you come from, what your life is, what the potential of your life can be, guess what? You're going to realize that potential a lot sooner, a lot better, and you're going to be able to sustain it a lot better than somebody who's just going from thing to thing to thing to thing. That's not really a good definition of themselves, not good understanding of who they are, why they're here, what they're meant to do, who they're meant to impact. And for all you entrepreneurs out there, I will tell you, if your business is not built on the model where you're trying to make a meaningful impact to somehow improve this world or improve the people in this world by what you do, then you probably need to go back at this again and figure out, can you do something with your talents, with your gifts, with your capabilities and all that kind of stuff? Can you do something that's meaningful and relevant and will help you when you look back on it, be proud of your contributions to the forward flow of human history, so that you can do, the things that not just that you enjoy, but you things that create joy for others. And that's a reason to change a habit. That's a reason to assess your habit. We talked to you in a couple earlier incidences about the Bible. And we've always known, human beings have always known, that if you do things for a higher purpose, then those things have the opportunity to remain and to stay. But also you have a litmus test to really test, and you should test your thoughts and your behaviors. You should measure them. You should write it down. You should create systems that will help you track your behavior so that you can ask yourself the question, am I doing the right thing? Is what I'm doing adding to the forward flow of human history in a way that it's helping someone else receive joy, satisfaction, happiness? Is it helping others to grow? Is it helping the society to move forward, not backwards? I promise you, when you learn these very valuable lessons and you learn to practice them, I'm all about mindfulness. I'm all about habit change. I'm going to suggest a couple of quick books for you. One is by BJ Fogg, who talks about tiny habits. I also like Atomic Habits. I'm reading that one too right now. That's a good one. This one's by Charles Duhigg. This is The Power of Habit. And these books, I promise you, put them on your shelf, read them over and over and over again. Outline them, highlight them, have questions, argue about them. If you have some revelations that you learned from some of the book, hey, put it in the chat. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we can help each other move forward in a way that's meaningful. Now, if you're watching us again on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, feel free to throw a question in. Feel free to look at the workshop in any way you want to look it from. When we're all about you, all about creating opportunities for you and helping you grow. We do this show. I've been doing this show now for how many years? Close to 20 years. I used to do this sitting at a Panera Bread with a whole bunch of entrepreneurs. So every Friday I would get together and we would just talk about things that we thought were good for business. And then when COVID hit, we moved online. So this is well over my 200th show that I produced every Friday since COVID started. So we've been, and I do this show, and I also do Inside the Business Mind, by the way. For those of you who are interested in that show, that's going to be great. And the last thing I want to share with you is, I can't do it tonight because I don't have it loaded up. But I got a conference coming up called the Leverage Up Conference. It's coming up on the 28th and the 29th of April. It's going to be a Friday night VIP section. That's only going to be for partners and sponsors. And then on Saturday, all day Saturday, we're going to have a full out business conference. And we've got panelists coming from every walk of life, from venture capital to alternative investment opportunities to crypto and blockchain, and how all those things can be used, and housing and infrastructure. We talk about all those things. We talk about politics. We talk about the economy. We talk about the social structure. We talk about the legal opportunities that are out there. We talk about the technological opportunities that are out there. And finally, we talk about the ecosystem in and of itself and how all small businesses can participate in all this. If you haven't gotten your ticket for Leverage Up, I suggest you go get it. Google it. Leverage Up, April 28th. Or April. Just Google Leverage Up April on Eventbrite, and you're gonna find it. And then you can purchase your ticket and get in for the discount tickets, because those are flying right now. And if you haven't gotten your ticket, I suggest you get your ticket. I would give you. I'm gonna post the link in the show notes, so that if you come back to the show, you can get that link if you can't find it, and that way you can buy your ticket. I think I built this for everybody. I built this for everybody to grow, everybody to learn, everybody to find something that they could take away from it. And that's why we do it. We do the conference every quarter. And so as new news hits the street, the CHIPS Act hits the street, and the new Investment Act hits the street, or the president just signs a new bill to put more money into the economy for manufacturing in some way, shape, or form. All that hits, and then we figure out, how do we track this money? How do we get more opportunities for entrepreneurs and flow down to all the small businesses, small women and minority-owned businesses, which I live for, need opportunities and need barriers to be taken down. So we teach people how to do that. How do we fight these barriers? How do we remain resilient? How do we create the opportunities we need to create for our small businesses to win, and win often? That's it, folks. Had a great show, had a great time. I loved hanging out with you guys. But I'm going to call it close if I don't see any questions out there, and I don't see any questions out there. And so we're gonna call this party to the close. But again, if you're watching this, even if you're watching the replay, put your information in the chat. Play with us. If you're watching one of the older shows, same thing. Put your information in the chat. Put your business stuff in the chat. This is a business-friendly environment. I want you to think of it as that, and I want you to enjoy it and grow. This is Coach Powell signing out from Coffee Tea, You and Me. I'm going to go have myself a sandwich right about now. See you later, guys.